The International Institute for Strategic Studies is holding the Shangri-La Dialogue this week in Singapore. The meeting is independent and aims to gather defense policymakers to discuss the most pressing security issues in the region. Over 45 countries, 49 ministers and 40 senior defense officials attended the 2024 meeting, marking its 21st gathering. This meeting is an opportunity not only to provide addresses on the policy positions of the various countries, but also to facilitate bilateral talks between high-level officials on defense-related matters. The meeting comes at an ideal time, as China's aggressive actions in the South China Sea and Taiwan are becoming a point of contention for not only the region but the world, as the region is a key global economic hub. The tensions in the region are high, and it is unclear if this meeting will serve to prevent escalation or an opportunity to put a stake in of immovable positions that could lead to future conflicts. The meeting will be an opportunity for US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun to meet on the sidelines to discuss the ongoing tension in the region. Both defense chiefs also delivered addresses to the conference. Secretary Austin stated in his address that the Indo-Pacific region was a top priority for the United States, and that Asia's security had a direct impact on the United States' security. Despite the war in the Middle East and Ukraine, both of which the US is providing support for, Asia is still a region that the US views as a priority and is seeking to create alliances and partnerships to support the rule of law and the freedom of the seas. These statements clearly targeted China. The majority of Secretary Austin's speech focused on the formation and strengthening of partnerships and alliances that the United States is fostering in the Indo-Pacific region. This includes expanding the AUKUS agreement to include Japan, efforts to improve ties between the Republic of Korea and Japan, and defense cooperation between the Philippines and the United States to address coercion in the South China Sea. These were examples of US policy to promote alliances in the region to counter the aggressive stance of China. The formation of alliances is a significant point of protest for the Chinese, who consistently demand that all countries in the region work with China only on a bilateral basis and not add foreign elements to the region. The Chinese demand enables them to use their absolute leverage to compel smaller countries to conform to their will, a task that would become more challenging if countries in the region began forming alliances. The Chinese couldn't contain their anger at the US policy on alliances, and they publicly accused it of trying to create an alliance similar to NATO in the Indo-Pacific. The Chinese accused the US of stoking fear in the region, which is incentivizing countries in the region to seek alliances. Recently appointed Defense Minister Dong Jun met Secretary Austin, marking the first meeting between the two countries' defense ministers in over 18 months. After the Chinese ended their large-scale military drills around Taiwan, the two met as China stated that Taiwan would be reunified by force if necessary. The bilateral talks did not report any breakthroughs, as both sides staked out their positions in the region. The United States expressed concerns about Chinese aggression in the South China Sea and Taiwan Straits, which necessitated deterrence, as well as about China's assistance to Russia in its war in Ukraine. China is protesting the formation of US-led alliances and partnerships in the region, which it states will escalate disputes into conflicts. China's position is that it wants open and inclusive cooperation. According to Chinese General Li Shangfu, General Li asserts that dividing the region into blocs destabilizes it and advocates for bilateral approaches to all matters. The formation of alliances allows countries to improve their bargaining position, either by strengthening the group that China will find harder to divide, or by partnering with larger powers such as the US or Japan. Bilateral agreements allow China to increase its influence in the region by strategically exploiting smaller countries. Alliances formed by regional countries are their safeguard against China, and the US is promoting them to deter China. The keynote address at the conference was by Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who is in an extended dispute with China and their claims in the South China Sea. President Marcos aggressively addressed China's actions in the region. He accused China of attempting to dictate the security and economic evolution of the region. This accusation is aimed at China's claims over the South China Sea, which violate the rule of law and deny the sovereignty of South China Sea countries. China is attempting to coerce these countries to relinquish their internationally recognized economic sovereignty and freedom of the seas. President Marcos told the conference that he was not attempting to pit the United States and China against each other, but that the United States and its alliance with the Philippines are a stabilizing factor in the region. He also stated that he did not want to fully align with either superpower, since China does play a role in the prosperity of the Indo-Pacific region. President Marcos has previously stated that the Philippines does not take a stance on Taiwan, indicating that it does not wish to provoke China in matters beyond its internationally recognized rights as an exclusive economic zone, a region that China has illegally claimed as its own. The decision to give President Marcos the keynote address suggests that the region is concerned about China's aggressive policies, and the gathering of regional countries to varying degrees are willing to oppose them. It appears that the dialogue's organizers are attempting to convey to China their concerns about China's actions and highlight China's increasing isolation in the region. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, will address the conference and participate in a discussion session on global peace, urging attendees to attend and support his upcoming peace conference in Switzerland in mid-June. Secretary Austin will also meet with President Zelensky to discuss the ongoing war in Ukraine. Ukraine has almost no presence or stake in the region, so the organizers appear to be giving Ukraine sympathy and allowing it to attend the conference to gather support for its cause against Russia. It also appears that he will steer clear of criticism of China for its moral and material support of Russia, as he hopes that he can convince China to participate in future peace conferences. We can expect more news from the Shangri-La Dialogue through the weekend, but it's clear that the organizers and most attendees are concerned about China's aggressive actions in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Straits. The agenda appears to be an attempt to demonstrate to China that its actions in the region could potentially isolate it from its few allies if it persists with its current policies. Russia, China's one dependable ally, has not been invited to attend since 2022, so China appears more isolated than ever in this meeting. It is not an unfair point to highlight the downside of China's regional policies, but it is unusual that they would allow the meeting to become so one-sided against China, unless they viewed this as the last chance to show China the cost of the course they have set for the region.